staff to come up with new ways to allow him to continue to communicate in the face of everything being shut down, everyone being locked down. So the Schwarzenegger Climate Initiative partnered with the Schwarzenegger Institute at USC to create Arnold's Stammtisch. Now, for those who may not be familiar with the Stammtisch, it's a tradition in Germany and Austria where people meet at a pub and they sit down at a specially marked table and they talk. It's an exchange of ideas among friends on every topic imaginable under the sun, always with respect. So let's take a look at Arnold's climate friends at his Stammtisch.
It is great to have you on Arnold's Stammtisch. Herr Bundespräsident, I just want to say, call me Arnold, don't call me Governor, okay? Because it's a very casual kind of atmosphere, the Stammtisch.
Right. And you call me Sasha.
This is kind of like a typical Austrian Stammtisch.
Yeah. Do we have to wear the lederhosen?
No, but I mean, if we do the Austrian Stammtisch, then of course we have the Austrian hat on.
I gotta
ready for anything like that. Or but if we want to do the American Stammtisch, then we go, of course, and put the cowboy hat on.
We have the US back in the front line of the fight against climate change.
Yes, Trump is gone, but that doesn't mean that we can relax.
I'm looking forward to battling this together.
On paper, the strategy is okay, but we'll still have to put it into practice.
I think so. I totally agree with you.
There are so many jobs that can easily transition over to green energy.
Healthy planet, healthy humans.
I think what we should avoid is telling them with a teacher's finger.
So my message is don't relax and keep demanding action, keep pushing, maybe even more now.
I would love to do a real Stammtisch when I come to Vienna.
Holy shit, look at that. That is a tankard.
Austrian beer.
Exactly, and have some good schnitzel.
Well, I wish I could join you.
Thank you. Danke vielmals. Bis später.
Bis später.
It's always a good time with the governor. As they mentioned, the U.S. is back in the Paris Agreement, as is Europe, and we're going to hear from the most powerful voice on the U.S. climate ambition, John Kerry. He will be with us live this afternoon at 2 p.m. Right now, though, we had a chance for the governor to sit down with another high-ranking official in the U.S. government. He's the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, and he sat down for a Stammtisch with Governor Schwarzenegger. So let's take a look as he had a chat with Michael Regan.
It's really great to have you here, and I know that you're in the middle of negotiating the infrastructure deal, and you have been very, very busy, so it's really great to have you. The first question that I have is, how did you get interested in environmental issues in the first place?
Well, thank you first and foremost for having me. I grew up hunting and fishing with my father and grandfather in eastern North Carolina. Loved the outdoors and really spent time in the outdoors, just having a great time. But I also suffered from respiratory issues related to air pollution and the like. So from a very early age, I understood that pollution could prevent me from enjoying the things that I love with the people that I love. And so I had an interest early in life. In college, I studied environmental science, and my first job was an internship right here at the United States Environmental Protection Agency.
Wow, this is unbelievable. But I mean, did you ever dream that one day your great enthusiasm and your passion for the environment would lead to becoming the administrator of the EPA, of the Environmental Protection Agency in America? Isn't that unbelievable?
It's really unbelievable. It's like coming back home. Of course, during that internship and early in my career, I never imagined that the President of the United States would tap me to lead this wonderful agency. But you know what? I'm here, I'm back, and we are rebuilding this agency to do exactly what its mission charges us to do.
No, I know, and I'm very excited about that because we all know that the Trump administration really screwed up the agency. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, he had very little interest in protecting the environment, very little interest and really protecting the people from the toxic air and from toxic water and all those kind of things. And is set, as a matter of fact, the EPA back into the dark ages. So the question really is, how challenging is it for you now to kind of like change all of that and to actually, rebuild the morale inside the EPA and the trust from the outside?
Well, I'll just say it was heartbreaking watching from the outside what the Trump administration was doing to my former colleagues and to this agency. And so when the president asked me to lead this agency, I was ready. And on day one, we recommitted ourselves to the employees of this agency because they're the heart and soul of this agency. We also recommitted ourselves to sound science, following the science and following the law. And I'll tell you, we've spent time listening to our employees, listening to the stories of what happened to them over the past 4 years. We're working on rectifying those rights by listening to the career staff, following science, following the law. And we really want to not replicate what happened in the previous administration, which was political influence in the scientific decision-making and legal decision-making that has guided this agency for close to 50 years.
Right. Now, what's great about it is the Biden administration, and this is now Republican talking, okay? So it is, and I'm excited about it. I mean, I'm really excited about it because the Biden administration seems to me to be back in again and to restore all the damage that was done and actually to join the Paris Agreement again and to be part of the international community. And so my question really is that the president even made a commitment to reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 50%, I think, by the year 2030. So this is really a huge undertaking. So tell me a little bit about how you're going to get there to that goal. So it's not just another promise, because so many times, as you know, countries make promises, but they don't keep it. So how are you going to get there and how are you going to accomplish this great goal?
Listen, as you said, the president has set a very ambitious but much needed goal. And we're going to reach those goals with a government-wide strategy. EPA will play a central role, but whether it's transportation and me working very closely with Secretary Buttigieg over in the Department of Transportation, or whether it's concrete energy and infrastructure issues that I'm partnering with Secretary Granholm in the Department of Energy, or thinking about as we invest in our infrastructure and leverage technology, how we grow jobs. I'll be working very strongly with the Department of Labor. This is an all of government approach. We are all in and we are willing to work together, grow in the same direction in order to achieve the president's mission. And by the way, it is achievable and we're going to do it.
I know that you have to go and you're very busy and all this, but before, I think the Austrians would not forgive me if I would not ask that question, which is, will you be back, but in person in Vienna next year at our climate conference? That's really the question.
I'd love to, and we're going to look into that as soon as this call ends, because it's important that we continue to engage this way with this very important summit that you've started. So first of all, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for that invitation, and we hope to see you next year there in person.
Absolutely. And any help that you need, just let me know, okay? Because we got to work together. We got to go and reduce the greenhouse gases. We got to get rid of pollution. We got to terminate pollution. That's the bottom line here.
Absolutely. And I'm glad to have you as a partner with us to do so. I know with you, we can win.
Thank you very much. Thank you and have a good day, okay? And congratulations on the infrastructure package. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the U.S. is back, but this isn't just a problem that gets addressed at the national level. It can be addressed at the state level as well. In fact, when Governor Schwarzenegger was leading California, he passed a lot of cutting-edge environmental legislation, particularly that impacted the automobile industry. It didn't make him terribly popular at the time with them, but now it's common sense. We see the automotive industry embracing this, and many of them are leading the charge, trying to find fossil fuel-free technologies. And one of those companies that's doing it is one of the biggest automotive brands on the planet, Ford Motor Company. But we're having a little trouble right now reaching him because this is what happens when we do this live in the midst of a pandemic. Sometimes the technology doesn't always cooperate. So we're waiting right now for the CEO of Ford, and we'll wonder, and he is here. Well, that was a dramatic tease right there. So right now, the governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger, is going to have a discussion with the CEO of Ford, who's helping lead the charge in clean technologies, Jim Farley and Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
I'm great, Governor. Good to see you. Happy to be part of the conference.
Well, thank you very much for being part of it. And, you know, I'm a big fan of what you're doing. And I just wanted to ask you the first question right now. As you remember, when I was governor, we had an all-out war with the car manufacturers from all over the world because they hated our new tailpipe emission standards. And they sued California, and they sued me, and it was like a battle. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because you and Ford have decided to join California. Ford has decided to join California and to march together with California in the right direction. So what happened there, and why did you make that decision?
Well, you know, Ford's a different kind of company. We're a family company. Bill Ford has been an advocate for moving to green technology for a long time, and the management team for a long time didn't listen. I think we picked purpose over politics. You know, we're the only full-line manufacturer committed to Paris, and when we did that, you know, we really had to commit to California. We think this is, you know, history will be on the right side of history over time because of this choice. It's not easy, but I think it's really the right thing to do. And as I said, Ford is a purpose-built, you know, company. It's not just a profit machine. We really understand our place in history after 118 years.
Well, I have the utmost respect for you and for Ford for doing that, because it's the right thing to do, and we all know there are other car manufacturers, and we don't want to mention their names, but there are others that are going in the other direction and that are fighting California. So I want to say thank you for coming along with California and working with us. The other question that I have is, you know, I'm a big fan of the F-150, and I've talked about it just earlier in my speech. And so my question is just, you have now a plan not only to develop this F-150, but also to only sell electric cars in Europe from 2030 on. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I think both of us are big car guys, and you know, from my perspective, this is just a better vehicle. After 30 years of being in the industry, you know, the electric vehicle is so much more than just propulsion. The F-150 is a good example. It's America's most favorite vehicle. We sell over 1 million a year, and you can power your house for 3 days. We have a mega power frunk with 200 pounds of storage in front. You know, the truck can do so much more, like the supplemental power, which we saw because of climate change, all the issues in Texas this year. You know, many people were powering their houses with their F-150 hybrids. They'll be able to do that with the electric F-150. I think what we need to really reinforce is that these electric vehicles are not just innovating the propulsion, they're bringing a lot of new technologies, digital vehicles, to the marketplace that can do so much more than just move with zero emissions. The Pro Power on Board is a good example, and a pickup truck is perfect. We can now power job sites across America and Europe without having diesel generators. And so this ability to have a purely digital product, and especially applying this to America's best-selling vehicle, is exactly how we want to get there to commit to the California standard.
Now, I am very excited about that, about the future, of the way you see the future. And my question is, What is your thinking about proving the naysayers wrong? Because the reason I'm mentioning this is because, one of my principles of success is always don't listen to the naysayers. But on top of it, I've seen it firsthand in California. When we kind of passed off the strict environmental laws in California, they said this was the worst idea and it would never work and the economy will go down and businesses will leave the state of California and it will be crashing and jobs will be lost and all this. In the meantime, today, we are the most successful economy in the United States by far, and we have the strictest environmental laws. So we could prove that you can do both at the same time, that you can protect the environment and protect the economy at the same time. And I'm sure that they told you also that if you go electric and if you spend this money that you did, $30 billion on research on green vehicles, which is outstanding. I'm sure they told you this is the worst thing that you can do. But in fact, that you've proven the opposite, because when you became the CEO, the stocks were at $6.50 or $6.75 or whatever it was. And now since then, they have doubled, more than doubled at $15. So this is a huge success. So what do you say to those naysayers that didn't really believe in you or didn't believe in anything that has to do with the environment?
Well, so far they're wrong. I would say we aren't the biggest car company in America, but we have more U.S. jobs and we build more vehicles in the U.S. than any other brand. We bet on America even though it's more expensive. And the burden falls on us at Ford to figure out this transition, not just for the better climate, but also to transition our workers, as you said, because we have more workers. We've already invested $3.2 billion in our manufacturing facilities. My grandfather started in the Rouge plant. He started as an hourly worker at Ford in 1913, and that plant is a fully green plant that's going to make the F-150 on our oldest site. It's almost 100 years old. We're spending $1 billion now transforming the Ford Cologne Center in Germany to being all electric. We're insourcing the motors and the e-axles, taking transmission and engine jobs and moving them over, vertically integrating so our team has jobs as we move to electrification. An electric vehicle is about 40% lower in labor content. So if we don't vertically integrate, there's going to be a lot of Americans that are going to lose their job. But that, how we looked at it, Governor, is that that's our responsibility. So we decided to vertically integrate, to start making more of the components ourselves, to secure those jobs. We just announced a battery plant we're building in Georgia. Now we're going to have multiple battery plants across North America and eventually in Europe. Those are new jobs. And that vertical integration is really important. The naysayers can say what they want, but Ford, we're planning on that future and kind of managing it, the risk ourselves. We do need help from the government. As you heard from the EPA administrator, we're finding really great partnership with the current administration in North America and certainly happening across Europe too. We need market-based consumer and manufacturing incentives to make these very difficult transitions. The reality is we don't want to leave any workers behind as we move to zero emissions.
Well, I'm very excited about that, and I just want to remind you before I get off here, we in Austria have some room. If you want to build a plant, an auto plant here in Austria, that would be fantastic. We will help you. I have the Bundespräsident right here. We have the Chancellor here. We can make a deal right now. Okay, just remember that. Thank you very much. Thank you, and I hope you'll be back. Thank you very much.
Governor, one thing I have to say is, it's been great to spend the time today with you, but I also wanted to say that, we're really excited to get you behind one of these F-150 Lightnings. I think we have a fun image there that we wanted to show you of you in the F-150 Lightning because we're really excited for you to drive this vehicle. There you go. Perfect. So maybe someday we'll make it in Austria.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. Thank you. You're on. We're going to go and test drive the vehicle. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That was pretty nice, Governor.
Isn't that fantastic?
You're getting an F-150 out of this, huh?
But forget all that. I don't look for a freebie. I can afford a car, but I can tell you one thing. This is a perfect example. Jim is a perfect example of this partnership that I'm always talking about.
Yeah.
From the private to the public sector. That partnership, when that works, we're going to go and solve the problems. And I think he's a great leader, and that's why I wanted to have him on. So thank you very much, Jim, for being with us here today. And I hope that you come next year in person, okay? Thank you.
Well, that was great. And great to see it, as you were saying, to see it can be successful too, that the stock value is going up. So now we've got another guest for you, but this one is here in person. You're going to grab a seat. So this next lady, she has an incredible legacy of battling for the environment. She was the head of the EPA under President Obama, and now she's the head of environment, policy, and social initiatives at a little company called Apple. I met her last night. She's a joy and a force of nature, Lisa Jackson.
Well, Lisa, it's wonderful to have you.
I'm so excited to be here.
So
a little nervous. This room, wow, so many.
It's a great, a historic place.
Yeah, really
Spanish
beautiful.
writing school. That's where the action is. But anyway, talking about action, I know that Lisa has been here for 2 days now, or 3 days. How many days have you been in Austria?
2 days, yeah.
2 days. And I've sent her around in Austria to do some wine tasting. So you have to admit that the Austrian wine is the best wine.
It's really, really good.
You heard it, you see? Let's give her a hand for that. It's just good taste when it comes to wine. You see, my responsibility is not just to come here for the environmental conference, but also to pump up the economy. So that's why we already got a commitment here for a car plant. You is telling us that this is the best wine, the Austrian wine. So things are happening here today, I'm telling you. I'm excited. But let me just get right to it. And that is, the last time I saw you, or I should say the first time I saw you, was at the Rose Garden at the White House in 2009. And we were celebrating various different environmental victories, including the tailpipe emission standards that we did in California, and then Obama decided to do it nationwide. And that's what the celebration was about there at the White House. And you were very instrumental in that. And so I just wanted to say thank you for that, and I just wanted to find out from you, you've had this great job at the EPA, to be the administrator. I call it the secretary of the EPA. You guys call it administrator, but whatever. And you've seen now everything that has happened the last 12 years. Can you reflect a little bit about what's going on in the environmental movement, with Obama being such a huge enthusiast and pushing the environmental issues, and then Trump coming in after that, and now Biden is back. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, when I left in 2013, I joined Apple. And one of the reasons I did it was I became convinced that it was going to be the private sector partnership that would keep the momentum going. I mean, your standards in California are now the nationwide standards. And many international countries have followed, but it took businesses. We saw Jim just recently, my CEO, Tim Cook, to say, you know what, we know that we have a responsibility as well. That yes, our products are important, but we also have to do it in a way that doesn't sacrifice our children's future, that doesn't sacrifice prosperity as well. So yeah, I do, of course there's been ups and downs, and government leadership can be strong and then it can wane. But my role today as a business leader is to say, with this hat on, it is our responsibility, not a nice thing to do, but a thing we must do, is to do our business, good business, that's good for the planet as well.
Can you talk, because you're talking about now this new position that you have, you were very successful at the EPA, and then you left because there was a change of administration, and then you went into the private sector. And there, again, you took on the top job. I mean, being the head of the EPA is the top job in the public sector, but being the head being the CSO of Apple is really, I mean, Apple is the biggest company in the world, right? So this is again the top job. So what does it feel like? Did you ever dream that you would have those two jobs?
No, I feel very blessed, right? I feel that we all are on this earth to have purpose, to have mission, to do what we believe in. We heard Michael Regan, who's the current head of the Secretary of Environment, say he came to this because he loved the outdoors, but he also understood the pollution. And I want to applaud your idea that we have to tackle this great inequity that is pollution, children growing up without the ability to be healthy. That is, it's just unjust. It's not fair. It's not what any of us want. So no, I never dreamed of it. I feel that now at Apple, Apple is carbon neutral today, and we've made a commitment to bring all of our suppliers, our entire supply chain, to carbon neutral by 2030. You mentioned it earlier, thank you. And even suppliers, we already have suppliers here in Austria doing wonderful work for us. AT&S is a part of that commitment. And Infineon just today is announcing that they are going carbon neutral by 2030, that they're going to use clean energy for all their Apple production. So I sort of feel like I had a job to lead at EPA, and now as a business leader, we can help our colleagues in other sectors come along on this journey to the future.
What is the responsibility of a chief sustainability officer? Because this is a new job, I think, that some of the biggest corporations in the world now have, and that they hire people for that they're hiring experts for that. This is a new phenomenon. Can you talk a little bit about what your responsibility is, and also what power that you have within a company to take the company in the right direction?
Yeah, I'm like you. I think words count. And so you never hear sustainability in my title because no one knows what it is, right? But I say environment, I say social initiatives, because that's what we really work on. I report to our CEO, Tim Cook. I advise him on how to achieve our environmental goals, but also our goals around accessibility so that our products can be used for people who have disabilities. That's incredibly important. Our commitment to education. Our products, first and foremost, are wonderful tools for education for all ages. But on the environmental front, we have a roadmap for our environmental product that is as serious in the company as our roadmap for the next iPhone, right? Or our next big innovation, which I can't talk about up here. And I report to Tim on that roadmap and those deliverables with the same urgency that any executive in the company would. And that's the kind of attention it requires. It's why CEOs like Tim or Jim are so important to have CEO-level oversight, because what the CEO wants is what the company does, right?
So basically you're saying that the CEOs are listening to the CSOs.
The good CEOs are listening.
The good CSOs. But what do you think the percentage is? I just want to have the people get an idea, because this is like a really huge development, and I think that I've seen now big corporations taking it very seriously to go in the right direction and to be responsible for reducing greenhouse gases and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fair to say that in the last few years, companies that never before took this seriously or were part of the discussion have suddenly realized that not only because it's the right thing to do, it's good business. Clean energy is as cheap and sometimes cheaper than the conventional polluting energy that we all grew up with. It's also what employees want. Talk to a millennial today and they'll tell you they want to work for a company that's doing right by the planet. They're going to inherit this planet from all of us. And it's what our customers want. At the end of the day, our customers at Apple expect, and really should expect, us to do more than make the best products in the world. We should make the best products for the world that they live in.
What are you most proud of so far, of what you have accomplished since you're with Apple, and in which direction you're going? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we transitioned to 100% renewable energy for all of Apple's operations back in, I think, 2016. I joined in 2013. So obviously we were working on it before I got there. but right place and right time. 2016, we're 100% renewable. By 2019, we were on our way to carbon neutral for our whole company. And then last year, we made our pledge for Apple 2030 to take all of our supply chain to carbon neutral. I'm proud of each one of those because, as Tim always says, it's more than what we do inside our company. We should be a ripple in the pond out with our suppliers. They're really our partners, right? Infineon is our partner in making our products. We should be helping and be a part of their journey to be running on 100% renewable energy as well.
Do you have a blueprint of how to get to carbon neutrality in 2030?
We do.
We
call it our carbon roadmap.
Yeah, no, because the reason I'm asking that is because this is the most important thing. We in California, the reason why we have been successful, and I think the most successful state in the union, is because we have the Air Resources Board that creates a blueprint or a scoping plan, what they call, where we can figure out exactly what we need to do month by month and year by year to get there, to meet this goal. So any country that makes a promise and does not show or is not able to show, at least within a year, a blueprint or a scoping plan on how to get there, I think they're fooling you. They're not really honest, and they're not really straightforward. So this is why I'm saying that. That's why I wanted to ask you and test you, does Apple really have a blueprint? And you said yes, they do. Then you get there. Because if I wouldn't have had a blueprint on how to get to be Mr. Universe, I wouldn't have gone there. You cannot just go to the gym and start working out in different body parts, but without having a goal. I mapped out how many sets of exercises I have to do, how many reps they need to do, what exercises, what machines I have to use. I had to really write down everything specifically. That's how you get there. And this is, I think, the important thing also for every country that promises they're going to be carbon neutral by the year 2040 or whatever. Let me see that blueprint. Let me see that scoping plan. How are you going to get there? And you're not always going to make that blueprint, may I remind you. Then you're scrambling, which we have done this in California, where we said, oh my God, we are falling behind with renewables. And so then we go and we do some extra work and get everyone together and says, we got to make up for that. We lost a little time here. But you know where you are. You're not going to go to 2040 and say, guys, I think we overpromised and underdelivered, because then it's too late. We got to go and get real now. That's the most important thing. So I think that's what it is, right?
Yeah, leadership is about plotting the path forward. I agree. Measuring. And now I want to speak to the engineers and the scientists in the audience, like me. We're going to need some innovation along the way. I mean, that's why I love being at Apple. It's a company based on the idea that what we have today is not what we're going to have next year. And so, of course, there can be times when you're not sure all the steps that will get there, but you can say our innovations must also be on the path to carbon reduction, right, not in the other direction.
Right. There's one other thing before we leave that I want you to kind of clarify or maybe explain. There's a new word that came up in the environmental movement. This is environmental justice. It's kind of a thing that is being used more and more now in California and also in the whole United States. And maybe you can explain a little bit about, why is there such a thing, an alarm about environmental justice or injustice right now? And how do we straighten that out, and how do we get there to get rid of this problem?
Yeah, absolutely. I grew up in New Orleans, which was devastated by a major hurricane. The house I grew up in is no longer there. We have the honorable and esteemed president of Seychelles here with us. There are parts of this world that are in grave danger of not being able to exist if we don't change what we do in terms of the amount of pollution that we all of us, allow to be emitted in our names for the products we buy or the places we live or the transportation we use. And so I love, and I've always felt that at the heart of environmental protection is people. You mentioned it in your opening, people demanding something different. We're also saying that the people most at risk, the people who oftentimes are on the receiving end of pollution, have to be at the table with a voice and have to be part of the solution. Let's grow the businesses in clean energy that include people who have historically not had a chance to be those entrepreneurs. You know, and so at Apple, we have this idea of an accelerator for businesses in communities around the world that have mostly been impacted by climate change. How about making some money from the solution to climate change? So it's actually, I want to thank you for your leadership. You did that when you were governor. You continue to bring it up, and it's part of our moral obligation, I think, in this world, is to make sure we're all part of the green future we're building.
Well, thank you very much for enlightening us here. Thank you very much for being in Vienna. And, you know, do you want me to teach you some German?
A little. Maybe my son can help, right?
Ich liebe
Liebe
Österreich.
Österreich.
Thank you very much. Thank you.